Hi, and welcome to The Bright Balloon, a podcast where I'm sharing bright ideas for your balloon business. My name is Sarah Meyer, and I'm a balloon business owner like you, and I love the creative side of what I do, but I really love the business side, which seems to be the part where most people struggle. So I'm here to help. Each week, I'm bringing you an episode full of bite-sized tips you can use to make tiny improvements to your business. I want you to make more money, eliminate stress, and learn along with me as we grow our creative businesses together. Welcome to The Bright Balloon.
Hello and welcome to another episode. Today we have my friend Jamie Frick on the show, and Jamie owns Event Accents Balloon Decor Company in New Jersey, and she just recently moved into a studio space. So you were home-based,
Yeah.
and now you've made this big transition because you needed more space, and I'm assuming outgrew your home?
Yes. So I had taken it had started in the living room, and then it sort of spread to the basement, and then it started sort of spreading into the dining room. And considering we have a smallish house, and I have 3 children and a husband, nobody, starting on about Wednesday or Thursday, nobody got to use the living room until Monday, and coming into football season, that was not going to work out.
Yeah. And Jamie, just give us a snapshot of your business in terms of like size, employees, how long you've been around.
So I am a solopreneur. I have been doing balloons exclusively. I guess it's so weird to put a time on it, just because it technically, I guess, has been 2 years. It was a COVID pivot. I have an events background. I was doing, I had done political fundraising for 6 years on the event side of it, and then was working as a corporate meeting planner pre-COVID. And then I always wanted to go do something on my own, but I just didn't know what. So I had started an LLC in November of 2019. So I had the Event Accents LLC sort of name, didn't know what I was doing with it, was helping people day of stuff. I was doing weddings. I was helping out with doing random centerpieces. I was DIY crafting stuff, thinking I was going to do something there. And then COVID hit. I was laid off from my corporate meeting planning job because it was a pharmaceutical meeting planning, and they weren't having any meetings. And then a friend of mine, her mother called and said she wanted to do something for her daughter, but we can't be getting together. What do? I said, I keep seeing balloons online. Maybe do balloons. I'm thinking, now that's a career. That is such a huge profit. I can go to the dollar store, grab some balloons, blow them up, put them outside. I mean, I could watch a YouTube video and figure it out. I'm good at that. And then they all popped.
Yeah.
So that was my first experience with balloons. And so I was determined to figure out why. And thus started the introduction into balloons. And then I sort of took a deep dive, first through YouTube, true, honest. And then I would say, what was that? That was like late 2020. And then in January of 2021 was when I found Adopt a Grandparent, that campaign. And that led me to ballooncoach.com. And then from there, it just sort of like, once I had a handle on the business aspect, instead of just like seeing it as a side hustle, that's when it exploded.
Yeah.
So for me, it exploded. And then, so that was like January 2021. By June 2021, I joined Balloon Coach, went to Summit in November of 2021. And then, so this is the first, 2022 was my first, it's not a first full year because I was in business lab, but it's totally a different experience. And then I exploded out of the house and started looking for space, but didn't know what I needed and didn't know how to look for it. That was the hardest part.
Right. And I think, okay, let's take a quick break and hear from a sponsor, and then let's get into all the things shop, studio, space related, because I know, like, I have always been kind of an accidental advocate for home base because I was able to. I had a big enough basement, and then I was able to move home so I had more space. But like, you are in New Jersey, and right now is a very hard time to like find housing, let alone a house with a balloon shop attached to it. So I know you struggled with that. So while I have had awesome luck having home-based business, I think sometimes people hear that and think that if they're renting or if they're not owning the building, they're doing something wrong. And that's not the case. So I think that's what we're going to talk about after this quick break. Sound good?
Sounds awesome.
All right, we'll be right back.
We all know that there is nothing quite like learning in person with hands-on experience, which is why I'm so excited that our friends at Havin A Party Wholesale are having a live in-person masterclass on December 5th with the Airtamer. You can head over to their Instagram to check out all the information you need to know about the class, how to get tickets, and I know many of you have been wanting in-person training for a really long time, so this could be your end of the year opportunity to learn from one of the best. So thank you to our friends at Havin A Party for continuing to sponsor not only this podcast, but lots of opportunities for all of us to learn.
All right, welcome back. Let's get into all the details about your shop. I have so many questions from like, how did you find it? How did you know how much you could afford? What type of space were you looking for? And then I think there's another separate conversation about kind of the organization, because I know, we've texted and you're like, what goes where and what do I need? And it's really overwhelming. So let's start at the beginning. You mentioned you just kind of outgrew your home. Like, there was just no place for your children and balloons, and the balloons are the thing that had to go.
Yeah.
Not the kids.
So coming from a place where, so I live in New Jersey in the suburbs. So I'm about 30 miles, maybe northwest of New York City. So we live in the suburbs I live in Morris County. I forget that not every place is like this. It's densely populated. The houses there are a lot of big houses. There's a lot of small houses. So we live in a great town, but in one of the smaller houses in a great town. That's what we could afford. So I have 3 boys, and while it was great in the house, there was no separation of like business and work. And so I was always working. So if I wasn't blowing up balloons, I was sitting at the desk in the living room or sitting on the couch on my computer. I could never find anything. There was because I didn't want to invest in redesigning my home to base it on my balloon business.
And didn't you consider that at one point? Were you looking at a garage renovation?
Yes. Well, we never fully looked into it. That was an option because we have a detached garage that is barely standing. But there are rules in town, like for our garage, our house was built in 1923. So if that garage comes down, if the exact thing doesn't go back up in that spot, then we have to move it over and back and blah, blah, blah.
Sure. It's like grandfathered in because of
it was like one of those grandfather things. So then we had begun looking at a larger house oh my God, I don't even know when maybe the end, no, sometime this year. I don't even know. Anyway, so we're looking at houses. We're worried a little bit about the market and everybody knows like the interest rates and what they were. And it's hard. This town, it's just it's a highly sought after town. We didn't want to leave this side of town because that's where we wanted to be. I had all these requirements. Plus I wanted to find something that could house my business, because to have a business, it was like I needed a walkout basement or a way to get, like, if I was going to invest in, like, put money into, this is where I was going to put my business, I wanted all of these things. And we don't live in a place where there's a lot of detached garages with ideal houses. Usually it means it's an older house and nobody,
Yeah.
So there wasn't a whole lot of option. We wanted to be on this side of town, and finding a house was really hard. So then I started looking at renting, but that was also hard because I didn't know what I needed exactly. Yeah. I wasn't really good at trying to figure out what exactly it was that I wanted, how much space I needed. I knew my living room was like 200 square feet, maybe. So anything more than that was gravy. So, and then the cost of rent, it's high. Did I want to start in a warehouse? Did I want to be in an industrial park? did I want to shop? You have to factor all those things in, but I knew that I still can say 100%, I'm not the person that wants a team of people. I feel weird saying that out loud and admitting that in front of everybody,
I
but
know.
that's just my path. I'm not that person. I have a hard enough time managing myself or like one person. That's just not my skill set, is managing people. Not good at it. And so I know that I don't know if I ever want to be large enough to be in a warehouse. I don't know if that's really not the path I want. But I had to figure that out also when I was looking for what was out there, because I had.
Right. Well, and I think too, the other thing, I like that you just mentioned that, because like you don't always know what you want, or what you think you want isn't always what you need forever. So, like if you had gone and done a $75,000 renovation to your home in order to have a 300 square foot balloon studio above the garage, how terrible would that have been next year when you outgrew it and needed a warehouse? Like you don't really know what is always going to last. So sometimes the idea of a rental, I'm actually a little bit jealous of, because I'm like, it'd be nice to just be like, okay, it's time to move to a bigger spot, or it's time to downsize, or, there's no real skin in the game other than your monthly rental. There's not like necessarily this ownership, um,
Yeah.
thing to consider.
I think also my father's a lawyer, so he likes to throw in all fun stuff to like trip me up, not on purpose, but like he'll throw out things that I never even considered. Like, what if you buy a house in a neighborhood and then you can't run? Like, what are the laws in running a business out of your home? I don't
Right.
know. So I didn't even look at that, thinking, well, people just do it.
Right.
But you need to know what the laws are in your area, because you don't want to get stuck in a situation where you're doing all this, you do it, and then somebody wants to rat you out, or somebody, I want to be able to tell everybody I do this. I want everyone to know about it. I want to talk about it in town. I'd love to be, what was it? My 13-year-old son's best friend saw me setting up balloons for an event, and he keeps seeing me at a lot of things. And he's like, Miss Frick, you're like the balloon ambassador of Randolph. I'm like, yes, that's going on my business card.
Right. And you don't want to be like, oh, but don't tell anyone because I work out of my home.
Exactly. So that was, even when I was looking at this space, another thing you have to consider is like, what are the zoning laws of the office that you're renting? Now, granted, a lot of people are like, it's no big deal. But like, my realtor was pissed. The realtor that I was working with was pissed when I called the town to ask, because then they didn't know. So the town had to look into it. But I think it's best to always be above board. And make sure you know those specific zoning laws. So that's one thing I didn't know. So many business things I don't or didn't know that I have learned along the way by making that mistake.
What was nice about your situation though is like I think you got to the point probably after we did. Like we were in a little group chat, and I feel like the rest of us had come to terms with you needing a bigger space like a little before you did. You kept being like, I don't know, I think it's time. And we were all like, yeah, it's time. Like you send us these pictures of like literally balloons up to your ceiling, and it was like I have always had a separate space in my home. I've never had to blow up balloons like in my kitchen, in my like active living spaces. So you lasted a lot longer than I ever would have. And I totally sympathize with like the not being able to find things, especially if like you're sharing the same scissors with your kids and where'd the ribbon go? Or I had to put it away because we had company over and now I can't find anything. Like that would be so frustrating.
Yeah, nobody was allowed to have, we never could, I never hosted a play date. I felt so all my kids had to call their friends, be like, can I come over? Or I would schedule play dates for them to be out, because I always panicked if somebody was over and it wasn't nice enough out to play outside, they were inside and they're in my stuff. It's like hosting a play date in the middle of your studio. It's like,
Yeah.
don't touch anything, don't pop anything, don't like do anything.
Right, right,
Sit.
right.
Um,
So when you finally decided that it was time and that you were going to rent, how do you even start that process? Because again, it's very easy to look for homes like on Zillow or wherever your realtor, but commercial properties are really different and really tricky. Like how did you start this process?
So that it's actually kind of funny, because it sort of fell into, I hate saying it fell into my lap. I was actively networking by joining the chamber and getting involved in like the town economic development committee, and it happened to be that on the economic development committee there is a realtor. So I love to talk about myself. So every time I'm like, I'll tell people what is my current thing. And so, oh, I'm a realtor. Oh, I can help you. I'm a commercial real estate agent. So that just sort of fell into my lap because I was talking about my business and telling her that I was considering looking at the spot. So the problem was with that was that it all commercial spaces, it's just, I couldn't fathom the cost. I was like, oh my God, $2,000 a month or, $1,200, whatever it was. It seemed excessive. I'm like, I can't afford that. I don't know. I don't even. So it was a combination of, I wasn't looking, somebody found it for me. So I didn't even know, I'll be honest, I didn't even know how to look for the space. But outsourcing, like the Facebook group, that is the best part about like that sort of like in community networking with other balloon people, knowing what other people are doing. And granted, it's all over the country, so it's, you have to consider where your place is. What is a good price for space, or what makes sense, or so I wish I could say that I was super knowledgeable about what I was doing.
No, but that's a great tip that you worked with a realtor. Like, I didn't know that there were realtors to help you find places to rent. Like, I had no idea.
Yeah. And that actually, I think I'd recommend doing that. There, I don't even think, I don't think I paid a fee. I mean, I don't think I paid a fee. Oh, I should know that. I think it's on the other side, the place that the owner that's renting the building. So it didn't cost me anything, and they do
Yeah.
all the work.
Yeah, that's amazing. So then you found a place.
I found a place.
You found a
So
place.
this
Did you
person,
look at did you look at a few, or this one was just perfect?
this one was perfect. This woman called me and she's like, I have the perfect spot for you. I'm going to check it out, but I really think it's going to be for you. I know it is. I'm going right now. They're very, realtors, love them. Very pushy. More the good ones should be. Very pushy, but she knew it was the right spot. It checked every box. It's a mile from my house down the road. It's in a quiet, like it's on a main road, but I'm in the back of the building. It's an office. It used to be a roofing. It's been empty for probably since before COVID. So I think it was designed as a law. There's a lot of law offices in this little strip.
Oh, interesting.
So it's separated into rooms. So it's not one
Yeah,
big
it looks
space.
like it looks like it could have been like a dentist office or something, or just
Yes.
a bookkeeping office.
Yes, it's like a window. I have a window like when you walk in, one of those like slider windows.
Check
It's
in,
very
yeah.
bizarre. So it's separated into, so the space itself was separated, it is separated into 3 rooms, but they all connect. And so there's a lot of door. What's great about having a space that was designed as an office, there's a lot of outlets, like a lot of outlets. Every wall has like 2 outlet plugs
Oh,
on it.
interesting.
So because ideally, if you had cubicles or had a lot of people working, you have a lot of power space. So that was really cool. All of the doors, there's a lot of doors. So there's doors that connect, like I can walk all the way through to the back through these doors if I wanted to. And also like each room has a door on the outside.
From like the main hallway. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So have you found it working well, or do you wish it was one big space, or
It's actually perfect. What I like about not it one big space might have been hard for me to conceptualize, like how I wanted to kind of divide it up.
Mhm.
It took me a while to figure out, I mean, the research, the questions, the YouTube videos, the Pinterest, I mean, you name it, I've seen it. I've seen every balloon person that has ever posted a picture of their space. I've seen it. I'm a bit of a deep diver. But what I like about this is that I have this front room is the office. So I have a printer, I have my desk, I have the Cricut, I have a filing cabinet for the foil balloons in here. That's the only like balloon thing that's in here, balloon specific. And then in the middle room, it's all storage. So I have wall to wall shelving. And I put everything, I wanted it to be cute and sexy, like you and Lily. Shoe boxes because they were cheaper and easier to accumulate over time. If I needed like 3, it's a lot easier to buy 3 than and the lids snap on and off, so that there was no like twisting or all that stuff. But it's still visual, so that I needed everything. That was the biggest issue in my house. I need to see everything. I don't know
Sure,
if
right.
a lot of people work this way, but if I can't see it, it doesn't exist, and I'll buy it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is my foil issue. I'm still working on that.
Yeah. Foils are so hard. Every time I think I crack the code, I don't.
The foil, my issue with foils is they're cute. There's a lot of them are like, if they're cute or well designed, especially the little ones, I'm like, I need that. And now I have like 35 like little gnome Santa Clauses.
Well, you had to get them. They're gnomes. I mean,
What am I supposed to do with them?
what are you gonna do? Not buy them?
I should sell. I mean, I should make something. I will.
You don't know anything. And then what's your third room? Is that where you inflate? Or no?
The third room is the biggest, largest room, and that's where I inflate. So
Gotcha.
I got an awesome, like really big, everything on wheels. That was one thing somebody had recommended.
Oh.
Put everything on wheels, because then everything is really easily movable because I'm alone. So I even the storage, like the shelving, I put everything on the wheels. They're locked, but if I needed to like move it, it's not impossible.
Yeah, that's nice.
I have a lot of like those Tupperware drawer things. I kept the casters on so that like I had to roll one over to use as like to lean on. So I furnish, like, to be honest, I'm here. No one's going to see it. I mean, not nobody, but I went with a lot of Facebook Marketplace, buy nothing sites, people that were giving stuff away. I put a thing out there to friends, like, if you're getting rid of furniture, call me first.
That's awesome.
So
that's a really good tip.
It might not be sexy, but this desk was free.
Yeah. That's free is sexy. Free is a sexy word to me.
Nothing matches, but
let's take a quick break, and then if you're comfortable with it, I'd love to talk about price and kind of your actual deal, like what you had to commit to, if that's okay.
Yeah.
All right, we will be right back. You'll hear from a sponsor, and then
are you facing some competition? Hi, I'm Jeff from Asset Lab, and we help balloon decor businesses stand out online and generate more leads, more phone calls, and more contact form submissions through great online marketing. We can help you with your website, social media, advertising, Google search, you name it. We've helped balloon decor businesses with it. Learn more about us at assetlab.us.
All right, welcome back. We are going to talk about the money. I think that's the thing that scares everyone away. I think it probably scared you away a little bit longer than it should have. So what did you end up finding your space for monthly rent?
Okay. So this is going to be a true facts. I am terrible with money. It's like I'm managing it, like I'm giving it away. I just, numbers and my brain just don't.
What's your money archetype?
It's weird. It says I'm a ruler, but I have a lot of is it connector?
Yeah, I can see that.
The ruler, I see all the issues, but I don't feel like I'm super decisive. That's the one thing about the ruler that doesn't track.
But I'm ruler too, and I don't do the like deep dive research like you just mentioned. I don't do that at all.
I'm not impulsive at all in regards. I'm impulsive in spending small amounts of money, but when it comes to, there's a threshold for me, like it might be $100. It's low. It's not huge.
Yeah.
But like after over $100, I will spend more time than is absolutely. I will spend more time in paying myself to think about this than like I have to constantly remind myself, if I've spent more than 2 hours doing this, I've lost $100, or I've lost $200. I mean,
right.
It's hard to remember that aspect of it, because I will, and I fall into like, I hyper focus. Like I have ADHD, and it's very clear in business. That has been one of my biggest struggles, in managing all of it. So numbers are hard for me to, always. It's like they get jumbled in my head. So, so originally they told me, when I looked at the space, I love it. Yes, I was not, I tried to pretend to be like, well, as if I was going to really negotiate, but they knew they had me. I was like, I love it.
No poker face.
Zero. I have zero poker face. Everything is written. There's like a meme. Everything is written on my face. I can't hide anything. I'm terrible at that. So they knew they had me, but I knew that this had been empty for like 2 years, like since before COVID.
Sure.
And they had been struggling to fill it. And it is the perfect match. So they told me $13.50 a month plus utilities. But what that included was, there's a parking lot. Amazing. It's not secluded in a dangerous way. It's just very private. So it's nice that it's not super busy. They manage the parking lot. So when it snows, because it will snow and ice, they manage the side. I don't have to shovel. I don't have to, I have to shovel my sidewalk. God knows. But I think they manage it. They property management, right? I have heat and air conditioning and all the stuff. So, which was important also to know that I can manage all of that stuff and it wasn't somebody else in charge of it.
Right.
But $13.50. So also to keep in mind, the business was currently paying for a storage unit where all of our stuff from the house, not balloon stuff, the house stuff in the basement, so I could put more stuff of mine in the basement because I wasn't fitting anything else in the living room. I had more stuff in the basement, so we had to move our personal stuff out. So all sporting equipment, any extra chairs, any everything, baseball, winter. So everything was put in storage so that I had the space in the house because I said, I'm not going to go to the storage unit to check what I have.
Right.
If it's not right in front of me, I'm not going to use. So anyway, so that was like $350 a month. So I knew that I had that cushion.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well,
it was only going to feel like $1,000.
So actually I take that back. Yeah. They originally told me it was $1,500. I negotiated them down to $1,350.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, because it's not $1,000. It's $1,000 in my mind. See what happens with numbers?
No. That's how I do things too. And that's how I buy things also. I'm like, okay, well, I need this inflator. And this job that I need it for is $1,500 and the inflator is $1,300. So I'll still walk away with $200. That's how I bought every big piece of machinery too. I need to figure out where the money is actually coming from in my brain. And
yes,
that
is helpful because it breaks it down. Because I really didn't know what I could technically afford. I mean, my husband's way better with numbers. He has helped me see things a little bit clearer. And he was like, $1,000 is fine. $1,000 a month is fine. Cause then he's like, you got to consider it's going to be like $200 in utilities. When I asked that's another thing to keep in mind. When I asked the owner of the building, okay, what average is the utilities? Cause it's heat, and electric.
Right.
And then I was like, well, maybe I could just use a hotspot. So I don't really need internet. That's not true. You need internet. Full stop. No question. You need internet. I wish I didn't. You do. A hotspot isn't going to cut it. So when I asked them, they're like, oh, it's like, $60 a month total in utilities. That was not the case because nobody's been here for 2 years.
Oh, so interesting.
It's $60 a month in electric and gas. So it's a bit higher. So it's like I think I spent like 100. It's like a little over maybe 150 in utilities.
Okay.
Because I had to get internet, even though I didn't.
Yeah.
And I got just internet, nothing. I don't need a phone or whatever. So right. So I apologize for making these numbers not great, but it was they told me $1,550. We negotiated down to $1,350 in my mind because I was already paying $350 a month for storage. In my mind, okay, I'm in that $1,000 range. I think that I can do that.
Yeah.
And there is something to be said about knowing there's pressure now. And I had to get that $1,350, I had to sign a 2-year lease.
Okay, yeah, talk about that.
So because I have a hard commitment that's a big deal. With indecision, I'm like, oh my God, a year, I could do anything for a year. But when they said, well, it would have to be 2 years, I was like, well, what happens if? And then you do all the what ifs, all the stuff.
I know. I'm like, I'm not even going to be doing balloons in 2 years.
What's going to happen in 2 years? And then my husband and I, it was a family decision, even though it's my business and it's all me and money has not come out. No money for the balloon stuff has ever come out of the person. I could say that nothing has ever come out of our personal money. Everything has always been, it's sort of like self
Yeah, absolutely.
whatever.
Generating.
Thank you. So, but talking about it and talking all the way through it, he's like, why wouldn't you be like the encouragement? I needed a little bit of that sort of like somebody else to say, why wouldn't you be doing this for 2 years? And then once I was all moved in, and and that's another thing to keep in mind. The first month that you move in, you're going to spend so much money.
Right. So
Yeah.
did you have first and last month's rent due also?
It was first month's and it was 2 months of, it was security and first and last month's rent. So it was 3 times.
$3,000 at least. Yeah, that's a lot.
It was a lot. That made me very, very nervous. So that was the first thing that you forget. It's first and last, or it's the security deposit plus, because the lease was 2 years and whatever. And making sure that and that was another thing on the lease. I had to tell them it was my name was on the lease. I didn't want my personal name on the lease. I needed my business on the lease. And that was that had to go back and forth a little bit. I was lucky that having a lawyer, that's my dad, was able to remind me that you don't want to be on the hook personally. If something were to happen, you want to make sure it's only the business.
Oh, interesting.
So that's something to keep in mind. Granted, I could be wrong. Anybody that out there that has real law experience, I could be wrong. But
that seems to make sense, that if like you need to file an insurance claim for your business, if it's in your business name, it just probably makes things easier, a bit more organized and easier.
Yeah, I think that or like, God forbid, I belly up or whatever happens and everything goes downhill, the business is on the hook. But if there's no business, I don't know how that chase me down. I don't know.
I think that's how super rich people go bankrupt over and over and over, but are still millionaires. Like, I don't understand how people do that.
I didn't either. So I think there's something in there. I don't know. But that was one thing that I was just a weird stickler on. Like, no, I want Event Accents LLC or Event Accents Balloon Decor Company to be on the lease, not me. I'm not on the lease.
Well, yeah. Okay. So here's a really practical one. What if you sell? You're not going to, but what if you sold your business in less than 2 years and the new person wanted to take over your lease? It seems like that would make it easier, because it's like, well, they own the business now, so they have the space.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
you're in. You had to cough up all that money.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you need to make like $1,000 to break even. And you said that's a new pressure. But didn't you feel in your home that you were like pressure in the other way? Like, I can't book more than $4,000 worth of jobs because I know the balloons won't fit. Like,
yes.
Now
so
you're not limited.
I know that I should have thought that way. And I know Joette would absolutely be the first one to tell you to work what you can fit, like sell what you can fit in your car, or sell. If somebody called me for a $4,000 job or whatever it was, then I was going to take it and then cry about it, and cry. My head constantly reminds me, stop and think before you say yes. And I'm like, but it's $2,000. It's $3,000. I mean, what wouldn't I do for $3,000? Not a lot. I know. I'm a cheap date.
Be careful what you broadcast out.
Right? I mean, I've played.
No, I'm the same. I'm like, say yes now, figure it out later. And there have been times where I've regretted that kind of mindset.
Yeah, I know. It's not, I don't know if I recommend doing it this way. But it was like, there is something, I know it's kind of woo-woo. But as soon as I moved into the space and settled in, for whatever reason, the last 2 months, my average job is higher.
Yes.
I am like, the volume, I could not do for the last 2 months, I couldn't do what I was doing I couldn't even imagine doing it at my house. I probably
literally the same thing happened to me and everybody that I talk to. Usually though, it's about vans. Like, people say that about vans. As soon as you get a van, you're like, I literally could not have done this job in my old car. Or like, I'm suddenly filling my van to the rooftop and now it's like, I need a second van. Like, it's amazing how you can make do with what you have. And then the second you expand, you fill it. Like, You grow.
It is 100% true. If anybody is on the fence or trying to figure it out, it is. I didn't believe it. I wasn't sure that was like, I was like, no, that's not going to happen. But it's true because
What
there's
do you
no
think it
way.
is? I mean, like, it could be like magic, but also, do you think subconsciously you're selling bigger jobs? Because I think that's what it is for my van. Like, I would never have recommended a 30-foot arch ever. And now I'm always like, oh, you got to get the big one, and you probably need 3 of them. So I sell 30-foot arches like crazy. And for my first 5 years in business, I wouldn't even sell a 20-foot arch. I would have to like rent a U-Haul to get a 20-foot arch there because I just had a tiny little SUV, or I did everything on site, which made outdoor arches literally impossible. So for me, it just like cracked open the possibilities of what I could offer. And I think that's where my growth came from. But where do you think yours comes from?
I think it's similar. I think because I don't feel I don't feel like I'm doing anything differently. I probably am subconsciously because I feel like I can stretch. I can that anxiety and stress of being in a tight, like like they say goldfish grow to the fish that grow to the size of their tank,
Hmm.
or like that. As soon as you have more space, it's subconscious. Like I feel more comfortable pushing more stuff because I can build it. Granted, I don't have a van. Want a van? It's on my list.
You'll get one.
Twice the universe has actually put vans like in my path, and again I haven't done it. Once was at an event, and then there was a van parked in my parking lot, randomly, empty, sitting there, brand new, beautiful van. No idea who it was. There's nobody else in this. Like, it was
Should
just
it have a
weird.
bow on it and said Jamie on the tag?
Right? It was so weird. I'm like, this is weird. Should I like open the door and just see if there's a key?
That's so
But
funny.
it was like the universe is like, no, you need a car, because I literally have 4 U-Haul rentals just this month.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But I have two. Like I have my van and I love it, but the last 2 months I've rented a U-Haul 3 times. And that's the only time I've rented it all year. It just is like, for me, it's the back to school, the college jobs,
Yeah.
which they get like 5 arches and it just doesn't fit. And then I had a crazy party, but yeah, there are still jobs that, like, no matter what you have, even if you have 3 vans, you're still going to need a 26-foot U-Haul every once in a while.
That's something I need to learn. Like, I can't there. I wish there was somebody that knew what fits in. I guess it's figure it out yourself.
Well, yeah, I
Like,
think if
I
you
know I have
figure
a
that, like, it's hard because, yeah, okay, you could figure out the square footage, what is it? Cubic footage of a balloon. So if an 11 inch is half a cubic foot, you could figure out how big the space is, but like it's not, because like they
never
don't
gonna
fit
work
together
out.
like
No, they
Tetris.
don't,
So yeah.
unless you're doing like that perfectly. I have a minivan, and I have this. That's so I'm the next. I have a minivan. I take the seats out. Literally, I have the seats that they sit in my office until I need to transport more than one child.
Yeah.
And that sucks because those seats are heavy. So next time I get the next car, if I have to get a minivan, it's one of those stow and go ones, because
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
are a pain. Anyway, but I know that with like one of the college events, I can stack. I think it was like I can stack 3 5-foot columns on top of each other in the back, like, and like 2 next to each other, or like if I take the top row off, I think I can fit them like visual like horizontally in the column.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you have to figure it out with your own. Like, I know that I just did 3 30-foot arches in my transit van. So those are 3 10-foot poles each. So 9 stacked 10-foot lengths in there. And I have the pilot seats in there because I have to bring my daughter sometimes, like in a bind. So I have seats in the back of my transit, which take up a lot of room. But eventually those will come out as well. Okay, so one thing that I always felt weird about when I was home based was having people come to my house. Like, I never offered pickups because I thought that was weird. And that was just my thing. I know plenty of people do that. But kind of like what you mentioned earlier about like running a business out of your home, you kind of want to be pretty quiet about it. And I didn't want people lining up outside my house. So then when I moved to my current house that has a little shop and a parking lot next to it, I felt more comfortable having people come and do grab and goes. Have you changed that model, or have you not really gotten into that yet?
100%. I had Grab and Goes live through, so I use 17 Hats, and I had the booking tab open. I never told anybody about it. I never really pushed it. I had Grab and Goes as an option, but I almost never sold it because I wasn't comfortable. Not that I wasn't comfortable with my information out there as far as like my home address. My home is on a busy road, and it's a pain in the butt to back out of.
Oh,
And
sure.
like, we have a little spot that we've created as a turnaround, but everyone thinks, oh, am I driving on your lawn? I'm like, no, we put gravel there. But
Yeah,
like,
right.
so weird. So when people would come, like I would do a few pickups, but it was always just really awkward. And I was always nervous and weird. As soon as once I got like in my space, and I was like, all right, now this is easy. I have a parking lot. It's a business address. It's very easy. I push the Grab and Goes. I'm pushing them more for anybody that it's like, if it's a simple event, I'm like, I don't need to book that on a Saturday. Come on a Thursday. Like, this is silly. It's the hardest thing is explaining to people that the balloons will be fine.
Yeah.
Thursday through the weekend, as long as they keep them inside. And if they keep them inside and away from animals and children, like somehow, I'm still working on the wording on that one. But, and the other thing is making sure they have the right car. Cause I've twice now had somebody come in a car with kids in their car seats.
I know. I always tell them your car needs to be empty and your seats have to be folded down.
Yeah. So that I need to make sure I reiterate in the information, but 100% the Grab and Goes have been so much better. I'm looking to do more of those kinds of pickups. I'm still like, again, I have a solid door. I have a window right now. Like I can see the parking lot, but it's a solid door. I put out a doorbell and a Ring camera, which somebody had recommended, being a woman alone and sometimes late at night.
I totally agree.
Better safe than sorry, which is kind of fun. We don't have one at home. So that to everybody. Oopsies. So having the Ring camera, but so I'll know when somebody's here. So that's great. It's just, and I have a sign. I think I might decorate a little bit more outside so that people really, so it's a little bit more fun. But again, it's always by Thursday, it's usually a mess.
Right.
I'm never sure if I should like create kind of an area, like a more welcoming area. Other than that, Grab and Goes have been awesome. I Grab and Goes. I haven't done a lot of the marquees as Grab and Goes, but I want to. I think that makes sense as long as they're sturdy and nobody. Again, it's having people transport them properly.
Yeah, I don't do the marquees as pickups. I get too nervous. They're going to pop the number and then the whole thing is ruined. So I just do the Grab and Goes, but I think I've done over $10,000 in sales from Grab and Goes this year, which like, awesome. I had no idea. I checked my numbers like 3 times because I was like, no, that's not right. And then I kept looking in 17 Hats. I was like, are you serious? Like I've sold 100 of those things. Like it doesn't feel like anything. Mm-hmm. And I have a secret coming soon. I'm excited. I'm teaching it at Summit. So I'm going to talk about automating the sales of the Grab and Goes with 17 Hats. Nice. But I have now also outsourced the making of my garlands because I just hired a balloon inflator. And now I'm outsourcing the selling and the pickups of my garlands. So more to come on that soon. But
very excited.
I have a new little location. It's going to help me out. So I'm excited.
Ooh.
Well, cool. Well, this has been so great. Congratulations on your new space and taking that step. I think like that's the big thing. It's scary to take that step. I remember when it was like, you've got to be kidding. People are paying $1,000 for just the space. Like I'm not even making $1,000 a month, but you do get to that point. Like you get to that point. And when's the last time you haven't done $1,000 in a month?
Right.
Like a year and a half ago when you started?
It was the adoptive grandparent was when it like catapulted. That was huge.
That was like 2 years ago.
Yeah. I did that in 2021. Oh yeah, it is the end of 2022.
Yeah.
Yikes. Yeah, that was January or February. I think I did in February of 2021 was like when it really.
I just remember, okay, this is kind of morbid, but I remember when I was making all of my little buddies, I had big deliveries the next day. It was the day that Screech from Saved by the Bell died, and they had a Saved by the Bell marathon on, and I just remember watching like 10 hours of Saved by the Bell while I was making those little yellow balloon buddies.
So funny. Yes,
Burned into my brain.
That's why you need internet. That's why I learned very quickly that I needed internet, because I needed to have my TV, like my iPad as a TV, so I can like binge. I'd pick a Netflix show and then like inflate. And then I come here. I have to say, I don't know. This is my whole life. I've never had my own space. I mean, I've had my own bedroom, growing up in your own bedroom, then you go to college and you have roommates, and then you graduate and then you get a husband. And I've never lived on my own, never lived on my own. And so this is the first time in my entire life where I've had 796 square feet of just me. I highly recommend it. It's wonderful. I'll be honest, it's like having a man cave, but not a man cave, because if you call it anything else, it sounds weird. It's like having a she shed.
A she shed, but it's like a she shop.
She shop. A balloon she shop. That's
awesome. Congratulations. Hopefully you have encouraged other people, because I know there is this stigma around renting in our industry. It's like never rent. You should always just buy. It's like, well, a lot of people don't have $500,000 just sitting around to buy a commercial space. So I think renting is great, and it was definitely the next step you needed to take.
I can't imagine needing, I mean, this is perfect. I don't ever think I want to grow outside of this space. Like, I'm okay with growing to this size and then being okay with that.
Maintenance phase. That's kind of what I'm at. I feel like I'm on cruise control right now. Like I'm just, everything's working. I'm just humming along, and I'm not looking to change anything right now. Well, very cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And I am so excited to see you at Summit. Actually, this episode is going to come out when we are at Summit. So sorry, everyone who's not there, because we're going to be having the best time ever.
I'm so excited.
And okay, so I'm going to plug Summit real quick. That's where we met. And I think safe to say that we both gain a lot from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love Summit. And, I hope I'm not overstepping, but I'm fairly confident that at this point, registration for next year will be open. So if you guys are not there and you're listening, hopefully you can hear our excitement. Definitely take advantage of whatever early bird special Joette has out. We'll make sure that if there is a special, or if you can already register, that'll be in the show notes. Otherwise, you can just go to ballooncoach.com to check it out. But like, that's something you want to commit to early, because it is expensive. It's an investment, but I think if you spread it out over the year, you pay it off easier, but you also can like look forward to it all year. Mm-hmm. Like there was a time where like, Jamie, you didn't know if you were going to make it this year, or like some of our other friends weren't. And then we all just were like, we gotta go. So it's hard to miss out on. So it really is a great week to focus on business.
I am so excited. So that was my first goal was to get to Summit. And then my goal at last Summit was to go to Summit, 2022, come to Summit and take my family with me to Disney. Okay. So check. At the end of Summit, we're going to Universal. They don't know this yet. We're going to go to Universal, but that is paid for by my business.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That was a 2021 goal. Like that was a goal for 2022 that I can check off.
Well, your next one's going to be to get a van.
The van is already like, I don't know if I'll make it to December.
Nice. Good for you.
I want a van so bad. The husband is telling me not to. He's like, not yet, next year. I'm like, but
just hide it in the sheet.
He's like, you're not spending enough on U-Hauls. And I'm like, that's because I cry every time I stuff my car and I can't fit. There are so many times where I have had my car parked out here, shoving everything and crying, saying, do you have 10 minutes? I need your car.
Yeah. Oh, get rid of the stress. The van is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Well, thanks so much. I can't wait to see you soon. And thanks for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening. As usual, I tried to keep it bright and light. If you're interested in bonus episodes, head over to our Patreon group, where I release a brand new episode every week in our book club. Each month, I read through a brand new self-development book that helps us all grow and learn in our businesses. Or join the brand new Money Archetype tier and gain access to bonus episodes and resources all about your money archetype. For more information about any of the resources in this episode, check out the show notes or head to thebrightballoon.com.